Sam started doing the scrap just after the war, round about 1948, long before the national park existed. So he was doing a service, keeping Dartmoor clean, and he'd pick it up with his horse and cart and have a lorry to deliver it to Morton Hampstead railway station. Everyone remembered Sam Harris. They always referred to him as good old Sam. People come into Sam's looking for bits and pieces, parts for the cars. He was kind, he was cheap, half the time he'd give stuff to them. But Sam was just dad to us. He was alright. On the whole, he was a good father. He'd wind you up as look at you, but underneath he was alright. He was dad. As children, we never thought the Scrapyard would become a well-known icon of Dartmoor. This is the way we lived. The Scrapyard was just off the Morton Hampstead Princetown Road, just down the road from Lettaford. It was very remote. It was 3 miles from any village. It was lovely in the summer, and in the winter it was bitter cold like most places on Dartmoor, but more so with the cold scrap than the iron. You couldn't move it, or if you touched it, you'd stick to it. We never had any central heating. That's the way we were brought up as kids. It was normal to us. I mean, we'd visit people in farms or council houses picking up scrap, and they always had a hot house and always clean and tidy. Carpets on the floor. We didn't have that, we just had grime. I never thought I'd come back to a scrapyard. I had no intention of going back to working in dirty scrapyards. I was working in Spangle's car wash, washing cars, completely different from scrapping cars. I was keeping them clean, but that come to an end. They went bust and I was back looking for work. When I was working at Spangle's, I used to always be going down to Vauxhall dealership picking up cars to take back to be washed and polished. And I used to often see Russell Toghill, who owns Newbury Metals, and he used to often offer me a job. Like 4 months from losing my job at Spangle's, and I thought, I'll go and see Russell. I took a load of scrap in, and I asked him, was there anything going? And his mother was in, so he asked her if they'd take me on. She had me in for an interview, and she said she'd get back to me within an hour, and she did, and she offered me 3 days a week, and I've been there ever since. Up on the moor there's 2 brothers, Jack and Roy Jury. Jack's digger mad. He loves sitting in his digger, scraping and putting up mud all day long. Roy used to run their family farm, and he does stone walling, and he hangs all the wire. Over the years the edges have run right down to the ground, and the sheep we couldn't keep in anywhere. They've done miles and miles of fencing. I met Roy in a turkey house at Frenchbeard, just on the edge of the moor, and he did fencing at weekends, and he offered me a job once I got to know him a bit. Would I like to help bang in stapes? And that's all I had to do. He'd hang the wire and pull it up, and all I had to do is bang in stapes. And I thought, well, that can't be hard, I can manage that. And right on the moor itself, I mean, it was a lovely view. You know, it just brings it home to you what you miss from living in the city. Built up houses, loads of cars, rushing here, rushing there. It's all this busy, busy, busy. No one talks to anyone. And Dartmoor is just a tranquil lifestyle. It's just like going home. I don't mind working outdoors in the winter. I mean, I've been known to work in all weathers. I mean, you can dress up to the rain, you can wrap up warm to the cold. If you get hot, you can take off layers. I don't mind. I've been known to work in rain what's coming sideways, just to get the job done. From a friend I heard that the turkey farm was looking for turkey pluckers. I used to keep chickens and pluck chickens myself, so I knew how to pluck poultry. So I just turned up and started plucking. And I've been there ever since, year after year. Must be getting on nearly 20 years. Well, it's only money what motivates me really for that. I mean, it's hard work. It's very physically, mentally demanding because I set myself a target of plucking turkeys of average 40 a day, so I've decided it's not worth going, putting all that effort into going, so I will push myself to pick as many as I can a day.
My mum has always been the strongest person. She probably wouldn't really ever acknowledge that, but she's been a fighter most of her life. From a young age, she's always shown me the skills to be independent. She was always able to build me a go-kart or build me a swing, where other people's mums were never able to do that. So she was everything. She was my mum, my dad, my friend. She's full of surprises. You'd never think half of the things that she gets up to and half of the adventures that she's been on. And she's always a very kind, fair person. We've had our troubles in our life and we've had our difficulties, but despite it all, we are friends and we help each other out as much as possible. I've always been a little bit worried about the future for my mum because she does work incredibly hard. She works harder than anybody I know. And the kind of work that she does is not sustainable for the long run. She is going to wear out. And I often tell her that she needs to take it easier and maybe she should not do some of the things that she does. But it's part of her and she loves it, and that keeps her going and keeps her interested. So you couldn't really take that away from her. It's a part of her. And being busy is her. She loves being out in the fresh air. She's always looking for that break and escape. I hope a part of her does see what a huge achievement she's done through the cards that she's been given. She's published 2 books and she'll never, ever take that on the chin and go, actually, I'm a published author, and not many people can say that.
Another part of my life has been looking after elderly people. For the last 20 years I've done gardening and housekeeping for lots of elderly people who sadly passed away. I've written this in my book about the relationship with Mother. I rehoused Mother about 10 years ago in Exeter. She was fine for a while and then she changed back to her old difficult ways and shut the door in my face. She shut the door to everyone, my brothers included. I didn't think I'd ever see her again. I always thought that I'd get a phone call one day that she's passed away. Hello. I had a phone call after 9 years saying that I believe your mother's not well and that she needs some help. I had tried a few times over the years trying to get her to accept me, but she was still adamant that she didn't want nothing more to do with me. And I'd gone past trying because I didn't like to be hurt. And I thought, well, if that's the way you want to be, so be it. If I'm not coming and getting rejected, then I'm not getting hurt. She knew where I was if she wanted me. But I'd keep an eye on her by asking the neighbours, have you seen my mother? How is she? The emergency came. I had a phone call from a neighbour. Unfortunately, they found that she had cancer. And it was terminal cancer. And there was nothing to be done. I've been looking for my mother all my life. And now I found, well, she was nice. She was kind. She wasn't that difficult, belligerent woman who rejected you. She was a normal little old lady. I found her for a short period of time. It's hard to see her from a very strong-willed, independent woman down to just a frail lady with short-term memory loss. Don't know if you come yesterday or not. Don't know what she's had for dinner. Don't remember who come an hour ago. It's that we'll go now. She may remember that you've been. She may not. I know it's going to happen. It's just when, isn't it? It's just when. I mean, I'll be upset when it happens, but I can come to terms easier than I can come to terms with her in this condition. That's the problem. It hurts. It's just so painful to... I think life is so cruel. After Mother died, it was turkey season. And it was, well, a week after the funeral that I chucked myself back into turkey plucking. And that gave me something else to think about. I just needed something else to drown the feelings and the thoughts of the year I've just had. I've been grieving as I watched her slowly die. So when she actually died, it was a small period of time to grieve, to be able to go on and to carry on with my life. My life was turkey plucking next in my life to do, the next step. Barbara's a sweetie, really. She's a little innocent lady, never seen the world very much. A little spinster, devoted her life to playing and teaching piano. And that's all her life is piano. After 90 years, unfortunately, she had to go into a home that she's not too pleased about. But she has dementia and she's liable to fall over, so it's for her own safety that she has to go into a home. But she do miss her piano. I go and see her once a week or twice a week whenever I have free time. She told me once that she used to go out to Killerton and play the piano. I thought she was going out to do like a concert, but I think it was just a day trip out to play a different piano. Well, the doctor said that she'd never forget to play the piano with the dementia, that it was always in the past and that she'd never lose the ability. And it would do her the world of good. She thoroughly enjoyed it. She remembered it for days and days. 2 weeks afterwards, she still was talking about it. We've got a picture so it can remind her of the day, and she'll just refer to it. I love being outdoors. I love seeing the day change from the lights to the dark to the distance and see the fog come in, the moon. But in the city, if I'm not working, I'm stuck indoors with four walls. You don't see nothing. Look out the window and all you see is rooftops. You don't see the moon because the city's all lit up. But in the countryside you can see the day change from light to dark, to the moon, to the stars. You can hear birds during the day and the owls at the night. It's completely peaceful. I miss that. I don't want people to think I'm a martyr, a workaholic. I love working. I keep myself busy because if I don't keep myself busy, I go in on myself, and I suppose there's a depression, and I need to work to keep sane. Either it's hard work, I don't particularly like hard work, but a casual, gentle work. And doing the fencing is quite casual, it's quite easy going in a sense. It looks hard, but it isn't hard, because you can stand and you can look at the scenery, you can look for miles while somebody's just rolling out the wire or pulling it up, or you take it in turns. You wait for each other to do their part of the job, so then you can stand and look round, look at the cattle, look at the ponies, chase the ponies off from eating your stuff. But most of all, you can see the beauty of the landscape. If I lived down on the moor now, I don't think I'd find work. Not for me. Work is not plentiful, is it? The home scrapyard wouldn't have survived. All the rules and regulations had come in and the prices had dropped back in the 90s. And then there was a big lull in the prices of scrap for years. They had to pay to get rid of it, so people sat on it. And then when the prices went up in the early 2000s, they all decided to take it to Exeter because our yard wasn't there. But I think they would have took it to Exeter anyway because people want the better price, and they got bigger tractors and bigger trailers, and it's easier for them to drag it up the road than it would be to take it for a lesser price. So I think Lettaford would have died of natural death anyway. When I'm sorting the brass, I think sometimes, what the hell am I doing here? It's raining like the devil outside, and I think, well, at least I'm not outside getting wet. So that's one advantage, it's still work. But in the winter it's so cold, and you shuffle around trying to keep warm. But then I think, well, there is perks of being here. I can get parts for my car, as I run an old car. An old escort will come in and I'll go and take a few bits off, like an exhaust box or some brake pads or some discs. I mean, I've been nicknamed the Magpie because I go and pick up all sorts of little bits and pieces. You can buy it cheaply for my own uses. Pick up bits and pieces for the tractors, what I do. We get all sorts of bits and pieces in, so I'm always gleaning something. So I think at least I've got something out of it. Not just they get my work and then I get a deal out of it because I find something that I want. And that's what I do down there. I go through the day looking for something of interest just to keep my brain sane. Dartmoor, it's changed so much. Not the landscape, but the people have changed. I mean, people have moved in from city life and they've brought their city manners, what's not very good. I mean, you'll meet people in the lanes and they're rude. People don't know me as in a person who grew up down there. Yes, it's odd to know that I grew up in Dartmoor, ended up in the city, and the city folk have come to Dartmoor. But Dartmoor, you can't afford to buy on Dartmoor now. I couldn't afford to buy anything now, so I think I will have to always stay in the city.